It was a cool night in early March a few years back. I'd just gotten home from a late shift at work, nearly midnight, totally worn out. All I wanted was to crack open a cold beer and relax on the couch, and that's exactly what I did. I sat back, closed my eyes, trying to shut out all the stress for a moment. After a while, I started flipping through TV channels, but nothing good was on. Finally, I gave up and just enjoyed the quiet. But that peace didn't last long. Suddenly, all the lights in the house went out. I heard that little buzz right before everything shuts off. It's a sound I hate because it means a power outage, and our place had those often. I figured I'd check if the neighbors still had power, so I stepped outside to look. Sure enough, I saw a light on in a nearby house, so it was just our place. Frustrated, I turned to head back inside, but the front door was locked. Confused, I tried again and even called my wife's name, but there was no answer. I checked the back door too, locked. That was odd because we rarely kept it that way. Then I noticed something strange. My garden hose, usually coiled up, was lying in the grass right below the breaker box. I suddenly realized someone had cut the power on purpose. I ran to the window, and inside I saw flashlights moving around. Someone was inside, going through our stuff. I reached into my pocket to call the police, but realized I'd left my phone on the couch. Without much choice, I dashed to my neighbor's house to borrow their phone. Then it hit me. My wife was still in the house, probably asleep and completely unaware of the danger. I rushed back to the house, grabbed some rocks from the yard, and threw them at our bedroom window. After a few tries, she finally opened it. I whispered what was happening and told her to hide in the closet, and she didn't hesitate. I ran back to the neighbor's house, called the police, and waited. The cops came and entered the house, but it was too late. The intruders were gone. My wife was shaken, and she told us that just after she hid, someone kicked open the bedroom door. She heard a gun being cocked, and they stood there, listening, just a few feet from her hiding spot. To this day, I can't shake the fear of what could have happened if I hadn't been outside when they broke in. Growing up, I'd always been in the shadow of my older brother. He had his life together, a successful business, a steady job, everything figured out. Meanwhile, I was struggling, moving back in with my parents recently to save up and get a fresh start. I was staying in the basement to keep out of the way, and with its own little setup, it felt like a small apartment. I mostly stayed down there, keeping to myself. One night, during a major storm, the power went out. It wasn't a huge deal, so I decided to wait it out and go to bed. Just as I was about to fall asleep, I heard a loud thud against one of the basement windows. Thinking it was a fallen branch, I got up to check. But as I got closer, I saw something that made my heart stop. A man's face pressed up against the glass, staring right at me. The second he noticed I'd seen him, he backed away. I felt my heart pounding, and it only got worse when I heard footsteps above me. I was alone, trapped in the basement with no cell service and no Wi-Fi due to the storm. I knew I had to get out, but I also didn't want to confront whoever was in the house. I decided to quietly head up the stairs, planning to sneak out the front door and call the police once I was safe. But as I peeked up the stairs, I saw flashlights and shadows moving in the dark. Then I heard one of them say something that made my blood run cold. "Alex is in the basement. Go find him." How did they know my name? Panicked, I backed down the stairs, trying to stay silent. With no other way out, I grabbed a stool and smashed a basement window. I crawled through the broken glass, out into the rain, and ran as fast as I could until I got a signal and called the police. By the time they arrived, the intruders were gone, and the house had been ransacked. A few months back, I'd picked up a night shift security job at a warehouse in a nearby town. It was a quiet job, routine checks, locking things up, not much action. One stormy night, though, the power went out, leaving the entire place pitch dark. I went to reset the breakers and was making my way down one of the aisles when I noticed a faint flashlight beam moving through the shelves. No one else was supposed to be there. I tried to stay calm, thinking maybe it was my imagination. But then I saw wet footprints leading deeper into the warehouse, and I started hearing faint whispers. I followed the sounds, flashlight off, until they suddenly stopped. As I stood there, heart racing, I spotted a crowbar on the floor that hadn't been there before. I shouted that I was armed, hoping to scare them off. But just then, I heard footsteps running toward me. I panicked and took off, sprinting toward the exit as fast as I could. The police arrived quickly, but the intruders were gone. My boss wasn't too happy about the whole incident, but after that, he made sure I wasn't working night shifts alone again. Still, I can't shake the memory of that night, wondering what those people had planned if they'd caught up to me.